Hi, Ms. Morgan. This video is just for you. I was super impressed by what you did down there in LA. Thank you very much. So I'm going to try and make this quick so I don't lose your interest. It all started at my old job. I was an emergency dispatcher, and there was an Ebola case, a child that we transported, and I was a whistleblower unknowingly, because we were unprepared and there was absolutely no protocol. So anyhow, I caused a big stink, made them do their job, and that included Sutter. Sutter had to reform their whole emergency response to pandemics type of thing, even though they still seem unprepared this time around. That was back in, I think, 2015. So I lost my job. They fired me because of it, because I refused to come back until that baby cleared from UC Davis. So that is Sutter and emergency dispatch, transportation, and unemployment. Mind you, my doctor stopped extending my leave because it was time. That was her reason. No other reason. She said it's been long enough. No change in condition. So I complained, and she ended up leaving that office with like 6 other of the doctors, and they kicked me out of that facility. Anywho, so I owned a home in Orangeville, in which used to be a foster home. I remodeled, put $17,000 in myself, and did all the labor. This foster home, at the time I didn't understand, but it had alarms on the windows, triple locks, deadbolts, sensor lights in the hall, pee stains and fleas on every single rug that I pulled out the first day. Just odd things. And it's like the Winchester Mystery House, the way it was built. It just kept going and going. It had about 6 bedrooms, but it only was listed as 5. I bought it as is. My mother put it under her name, but she used what I was going to inherit should she have passed. She invested it. Long story short, it was my house. There was never an argument about that. Here's the bad guy that used to profit off of the children there, who kept building rooms to add the children. I got his statement when he got $100,000 written off by Bank of America because of the economy. Also, he had a safety deposit box, should anybody ever be curious. So, in about December, code enforcement, because I lost my job and things were getting hard, and mind you, I had 3 kids under 5. Things were very, very stressful, but I'm good at stress. I was managing. They started hitting me with code violations. As simple as just the trash, the recycle barrel having non-recyclables, which was a bunch of BS. Anyways, that's how they started. And PG&E broke my water heater, but they're already getting hit enough, and they're not the focus anymore. So here's proof of me applying for public assistance in Sacramento. My appointment in February, so therefore I wasn't even getting it yet. Just keep that in mind. Because they are now billing me for it, even though I had already moved. And my birthday, and the debt has changed, and my daughter's birthday is on that notice too. This is for the same month with a different amount due. Thank you, Sacramento. So, Sacramento sheriffs were called by my ex-boyfriend, who I was fighting in family court over my son. Had already kidnapped my children several times. I had all kinds of abduction reports, and hired a private attorney in the East Coast looking for his address. I couldn't find him. Nobody would let me have his phone number, not even the courts. It was absolute. He lied to the courts about his address. The judge hung up on him. He was so bad. But yet, they still took his side this time around. So they cleared the house after that call, but they still decided to call CPS. I ended up not getting along with that guy because he broke the contract, the verbal contract we had. Instead of coming back in a week because I was remodeling, decided to sell because it was just too hard to keep up the house. He came back the next day and expected XYZ, and I said, our contract is void, your manager needs to replace you, and I refused to let him back in. So he barged in when nobody was inside, I should say, with the assistance of a female sheriff deputy, who I yelled at and said, you don't have permission, you don't have a warrant to enter my home. She said, I don't need a warrant. And her biggest complaint at that time was some smoked turkey in the fridge. That was pretty much what she argued with me about. Mind you, my kids were at my nanny's house. My kids have never been home when they've came. I was selling my home, and you see, yeah, you know, remodeling is a mess. Second entry. Actually, that was the second entry. That's right. They came in the first time around about the complaint. They actually went through the back, into the backyard, because it was a corner house, and helped themselves around my property while my boyfriend was in the room. He just happened to notice them in the backyard. Mind you, this is before Stefan Clark, okay? And I did make complaints to the Sheriff Jones. If he would have corrected his behavior, Stefan might be alive today. So the second illegal entry without a warrant was that January 20th date. Here's the police reports. They actually excluded page 3 for a very long time. They didn't have it done yet. Actually, my file was locked. The front desk couldn't even get into it for a while. But I got 3 pages out of 4 at the beginning of it. Here's the third unlawful entry. So after we acquired the Solano County Fairfield home, my boyfriend inherited it because his family passed away. I had some friends watching my Orangeville home because it had been burglarized and vandalized. And all my windows were broken. And I wrote them a note with permission to stay at my residence to take care of it. And the sheriff departments, again, decided to come over, kick them out. They didn't even care about the letter in their hand. Here's a statement from my friends about what happened via text. She even had a bill in her name already. Absolutely ridiculous, these people. So here's the original printouts of the police reports. There has been other incidences. I was assaulted about a year later at a Motel 6 by the armed security guard there, in which they did not only arrest him, okay, it was from behind. They not only not arrested him, but they didn't even write a correct report. They called me, I don't know what the word was, uncooperative or something. Mind you, I had to go to Denny's and wait and call them 3 times when they said, oh, well, they had another call with an armed suspect. I said, this guy's armed too. And I forced them to come, and they barely even wanted to come. Like they knew who I was. I don't know. Even if they didn't, they don't do their job there. So here's all these police reports for that. Here's my complaints to Jones. They never investigated it. If they did, they sure as heck didn't call me. Here's another one. I asked him, this is very important, I asked him the statistics on how many blonde sheriffs work for him in general, or how many females in general. He gave me some BS answers because I wanted to be certain that this was the girl who broke in my home and lied to CPS courts about finding drugs in my house with that other guy, that social worker. Okay, yes, she's a pedophile. I'm positive this is her. I won't forget her face, her nose, and she had beautiful blue eyes. And argued with me about turkey. Here's the first week. There was no response from anybody, including Jones, the ombudsman, the managers, freaking Becerra, Newsom. I mean, you name it. I was very unaware of the whole industry. I didn't know a thing about any of this. I thought I had rights. I thought we lived in America. None of it was legal. I have to write an appeal and have an argument, and I'm looking for ways. I mean, really, what did they do right? I'm going to have to write a whole book on the violations they've done. And I've been fighting them since day one, so I can go all the way back 3 years. This just shows that she wasn't even a dependent as of, I know you don't deal with this, it's not your jurisdiction, but it is pertinent. January 31st, okay? They barged in my house January 20th. They still didn't have jurisdiction, and they still kept her from me. They kidnapped her. Absolutely kidnapped my children. I don't have any criminal charges. I owned a home. I have a college degree. I did nothing wrong but fight for myself and stand up for myself. Just an example of a little bit of the collusion. Here is my son's junior high, in which they lied and said that I had never communicated with them. I actually had went into the office and I received all the communication and email passwords for my son prior to the event. So they just flat out lied to the courts about that, which so I could prove. So the judge at the time, on the 27th, a week later, decided to write a warrant for the week before. Somehow it still stands on the 27th. But she retired early because, yeah, she also violated my HIPAA rights in the court in front of everybody. It was absolutely disgusting. So the first week, here's just some of the emails to who and what I said. And they just ignored me. They flat out kidnapped my kids and ignored answering me. And I did persons involved, prayer. You can read it if you ever want to. Finally got a response, due process violation, and saying that I have to pay them for my records that they have on me, and it'll take 6 months to get those. Mind you, this is even before a court date. And then they finally decided they'll be out of the office. I get that a lot. So we transferred to, I pushed my daughter's case out of Sacramento in hopes that Fairfield would be fair. And I really thought they would be, but they're better. They're better than they are in Sacramento. Here's a little key piece of what we're looking at here. This is Sac State mailing me to general delivery because when I pushed my daughter here, they dropped my boyfriend from the record, and my daughter was able to come and stay with him as long as I wasn't in the home. So I ended up homeless, staying in my car, which was fine. For my daughter, I'd do anything. How did Sac State know about the general delivery? Okay? It barely even happened, number one. Okay? Mind you, in here is a Venezuela painted wall. I'll give it to you should you want it. It's, excuse my French, weird, but you might know what that means. And here's Sacramento denying general assistance to me in, I think it was February, and they're still billing me for it. They said I couldn't have a hearing, XYZ, defied it. I have enough on my plate. I'm going to deal with their billing. I know what it's about. Stressing me out. Next file. Mind you, general delivery, you're not told of general delivery. It's changed to that after they address it to your old address. Especially Sac State alumni shouldn't have known. So here's another issue. Here's another court. I was suing my mother because she kept my equity because of the lies of CPS. She actually sold it under the value, $100,000 under. And I was taking her to court because she wouldn't release my equity. And I was on the streets. I had nothing. And I took loans out on my truck. And look at the date.